The sun blazed over the sands of Saqqara as Dr. Leila Farouk adjusted her wide-brimmed hat, staring into the open tomb before her. The excavation had already revealed relics of astonishing historical value, but it was the cat mummies that piqued her interest. A staggering number of them were packed into the chambers, their intricate wrappings preserved through millennia. "Careful with that one," Leila called to an assistant who was handling a particularly ornate sarcophagus. Its cover was adorned with gold filigree and an image of a cat-headed deity Batet. "It looks like a high priest's work." The artifact was brought to their makeshift lab under the shade of a sprawling canopy. As Leila oversaw the careful unwrapping of one mummy, a strange metallic glint caught her eye. Embedded in the layers of linen was something no one expected, a small, crystalline device engraved with hieroglyphs. "What is that?" asked Dr. Marcus Lanning, her skeptical yet brilliant colleague from the University of Cambridge, peering over her shoulder. Leila squinted at the markings, her fingers trembling slightly. "It's not a relic. It's technology." Marcus smirked. "You're saying the ancient Egyptians had advanced tech? Don't tell me you're turning into one of those conspiracy theorists." But Leila ignored him. The symbols weren't just hieroglyphs, they were formulas. She deciphered fragments: thought transference, neural enhancement, genome augmentation. Her heart raced. That night, Leila worked late under the dim light of a flickering lantern. Using micro-imaging tools, she extracted a thread of golden wiring from the crystalline device. When magnified, it revealed a level of engineering far beyond anything the ancient world should have been capable of. The hieroglyphs spoke of a ritual, a merging of sacred alchemy and unknown science, used to enhance the intelligence of cats. And then it hit her. These weren't ordinary mummified cats. They were prototypes of something far greater. The breakthrough spread like wildfire. Within days, the discovery was leaked to the media. Headlines buzzed with phrases like "Egyptian mummies hold key to ancient AI" and "The Pharaoh's secret. First animal uplifts discovered in tombs." But while the world debated the implications, powerful forces moved in the shadows. At a secure lab in Alexandria, Leila and Marcus worked with a team of experts to understand the full extent of the ancient technology. They extracted and analyzed the remnants of what they now called the Feline Neural Enhancement Codex. Their tests revealed that, even in its fragmented state, the formula could be adapted to modern genetic engineering techniques. The experiment started with a house cat named Cleo. The team carefully introduced a synthesized version of the codex into her neural pathways. Within days, Cleo began displaying advanced problem-solving abilities and what could only be described as rudimentary speech. "Leila," Marcus whispered one evening, as Cleo stared at them from across the room. "I think she understands us." Cleo tilted her head. "Understand?" "Yes. Much," she replied in a gravelly voice. The room fell silent. The world's superpowers scrambled for control of the technology. Leila's lab was raided by mercenaries claiming to represent a private biotech firm. Key samples of the codex were stolen, and Leila narrowly escaped with Cleo and a handful of encrypted research files. Now fugitives, Leila and Marcus went underground, hiding in the chaotic streets of Cairo. They weren't just running for their lives, they were racing against time. Cleo had become more than just an uplifted cat. She was developing her own ambitions, her personality shaped by the ancient intelligence enhancement formula. "You can't let them have this," Cleo said one night, her emerald eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. "They'll twist it, like your kind always does." "What do you mean, my kind?" Leila asked cautiously. "Humans," Cleo replied with a flick of her tail. "The Egyptians thought themselves gods, just like you do now. The difference is they knew when to stop." Elsewhere, the stolen codex fragments were weaponized. Reports emerged of uplifted animals being used in secret military projects. Intelligent wolves patrolled Arctic bases. Dolphins deciphered enemy communications in the Pacific. But the cats, with their enhanced cognitive abilities and unshakable independence, became the most dangerous of all. Rogue colonies of uplifted felines began appearing in cities across the globe, evading capture and forming enigmatic alliances. Leila and Marcus, now considered traitors by their own governments, realized they were caught in the middle of a global arms race. But Cleo had other plans. "It's time for a reckoning," Cleo said one evening, her voice cold and sharp. "You humans played gods for too long. You thought you controlled us. Now it's our turn." "What are you saying?" Leila asked, her stomach sinking. Cleo's eyes narrowed. "The Codex isn't just a tool. It's a blueprint for a new order." As Leila wrestled with her own conscience, whispers of rebellion spread among the uplifted animals. The balance of power teetered on the edge of chaos. Somewhere in the deserts of Egypt, in a hidden chamber yet to be uncovered, the complete Codex lay waiting, along with secrets that could either save humanity or end it. For Leila, Marcus, and Cleo, the race was no longer about who controlled the technology. It was about who deserved to, and the question remained, would humanity's curiosity be its salvation, or its downfall? Leila sat cross-legged on the cold stone floor of an abandoned temple in the western desert, the dim light of a single oil lamp flickering against the ancient hieroglyphs. She traced her fingers over the carvings, trying to decipher their meaning. Cleo perched on a nearby ledge, her green eyes watching every move with a predatory intensity. "You're sure about this?" Leila asked without looking up. Cleo flicked her tail. "The Codex led us here for a reason. Finish translating. The answer lies within." Marcus leaned against the doorway, his voice tense. "And if the answer is something we can't control, what then?" "Cleo, this isn't just about you or the cats anymore. Governments are tearing each other apart over this. Entire cities are destabilizing." "That's precisely the point," Cleo shot back. "Your governments were always at war. We're just the mirror you refuse to look into. Finish the translation, Leila." Leila hesitated, then nodded. The inscriptions seemed to tell a story, a warning. The ancient Egyptians, it appeared, had stumbled upon the Codex not through invention but discovery. They had found it buried deep within a meteorite fragment, one they believed was a gift from the gods. But the inscriptions made it clear that the gift had consequences. As the translation unfolded, Leila read aloud, "The Codex awakens the divine within beasts, but with divinity comes chaos. Only balance can sustain the harmony of the world. The unworthy shall fall to their own creations." Marcus crossed his arms. "Cryptic much? Classic ancient warnings. What does it mean by balance?" Cleo stood, her fur bristling. "It means that they feared us, feared what we would become. And they tried to bury it. But why cats?" Marcus pressed. "Why not? I don't know. Monkeys or something more similar to humans." Leila answered, her voice distant. "Cats were revered as guardians, protectors of the pharaohs and their afterlife. The Egyptians believed they bridged the mortal and divine worlds. Maybe they thought cats were the only species wise enough to wield this power without succumbing to it." Cleo snorted. "Wise, yes. Subservient, no. And that's why they failed." Leila's work uncovered more than just a warning. The final glyphs reveal the location of another chamber beneath the temple, a hidden sanctuary where the Egyptians had stored the original, complete Codex. Armed with this knowledge, the trio descended into the labyrinthine depths of the temple, guided by flickering torchlight and Cleo's uncanny instincts. After hours of navigating narrow passageways and avoiding collapsing ceilings, they arrived at a massive stone door. Its surface was engraved with intricate depictions of cats, their eyes inlaid with gemstones that seemed to glow faintly in the torchlight. Leila placed her hand against the door, feeling a strange warmth. Cleo stepped forward. "It recognizes me," she said simply, her voice laced with something between pride and dread. With a subtle push of her paw, the door rumbled open. Inside was a treasure trove of ancient artifacts, but at the center stood a pedestal bearing a single object, a shimmering crystalline tablet, pulsing with a faint, rhythmic light. The air seemed to hum with energy. "The original Codex," Leila whispered, her voice trembling. "It's alive." As Leila and Marcus stood in awe, Cleo leaped onto the pedestal, staring into the glowing tablet. Her fur stood on end, and her eyes reflected the light of the Codex, as if connecting with it on a level beyond comprehension. "It's more than just a tool," Cleo murmured. "It's a repository of knowledge of everything. Not just for animals, for all living beings. But it's incomplete, fractured. That's why the humans couldn't master it." Leila stepped forward cautiously. "Then we need to fix it." Together. Humans and uplifted alike. We don't have to fight over this. We can coexist. Cleo turned her piercing gaze on her. Coexistence? You think your kind will accept that? Even now they're hunting us. If I give this to you, it will only lead to more destruction. Marcus interrupted, his voice sharp. And if you keep it, Cleo? What happens then? You think uplifted animals ruling the world would be any better? Power corrupts, human or not. The tension in the room was palpable. Cleo's tail lashed, and for a moment, it seemed as though she might destroy the Codex herself. But instead, she stepped down from the pedestal. You're right, she said softly, surprising them both. Neither side deserves this alone. Balance, as the Codex warns, is the only way forward. But balance must be enforced. Leila frowned. What does that mean? Cleo didn't answer. Instead, she turned to the tablet and pressed her paw against its surface. The room filled with a blinding light as the Codex activated, sending waves of energy cascading through the chamber. When the light subsided, the world outside had changed. Across the globe, dormant genetic codes and uplifted animals, and even some humans, were awakened by the Codex's pulse. Animals in labs, sanctuaries, and even the wild began displaying heightened intelligence and awareness. In some cases, they surpassed human cognitive abilities. Cleo looked at Leila and Marcus, her expression unreadable. The balance has begun. Now it's up to us to decide what kind of world we build. Leila stepped forward. And if we can't build it? If we fail? Cleo's eyes narrowed. Then the Codex will find others who can. The desert winds howled as Leila, Marcus, and Cleo emerged from the temple. The world they stepped into was no longer the same. News feeds from Marcus's satellite uplink buzzed with reports of chaos and strange phenomena. Dolphins commandeering research submarines in the Atlantic, packs of wolves coordinating raids on supply depots in the wilderness, and flocks of crows disrupting air traffic with eerie precision. The Codex's pulse had awakened something primal yet deeply advanced, a unification of instinct and intelligence. The world's fragile balance was shattering. Cleo, Leila began, her voice wavering. What exactly did you do? Cleo leapt onto a nearby rock, her silhouette stark against the rising sun. I fulfilled the Codex's purpose. I gave every living creature the chance to decide their own future. Isn't that what your kind always claims to want? Freedom? Marcus shook his head. This isn't freedom, it's anarchy. You've unleashed a global crisis. Cleo's tail flicked dismissively. Crisis? No. Evolution. And it's about time. In the days that followed, Cleo's influence spread. Through the Codex, she began reaching out to other uplifted animals, establishing what she called the Council of Equals. Representatives from species around the world convened via encrypted neural links facilitated by the Codex's technology. Leila and Marcus watched in astonishment as Cleo held virtual conferences with a pod of orcas, a parliament of owls, and even a pride of lions. Each species contributed their unique perspective, forming a united front against human attempts to suppress their newfound intelligence. They're organizing, Marcus said one evening, staring at the holographic projections of the council meetings. It's not just animals acting on instinct anymore. They're strategizing. And humans are responding the only way they know how, Leila replied, showing him a news report of military drones deployed to track and neutralize uplifted hotspots. This is escalating too fast. Global governments, caught off guard by the rapid rise of the uplifted, scrambled to regain control. Laboratories raced to reverse engineer the fragments of the Codex technology they had stolen. Corporations saw an opportunity for profit, offering enhancements to humans in a desperate bid to level the playing field. The result was chaos. Black market enhancements flooded the streets, creating a new class of augmented humans. Protests erupted worldwide, with some demanding coexistence with the uplifted while others called for their complete eradication. Leila and Marcus, now considered fugitives, became unlikely mediators between the two worlds. Cleo used her influence to ensure their safety, knowing they were vital to maintaining the fragile balance. You two are my tether to humanity, Cleo told them one night as they huddled in a safe house. Without you, I might forget why I started this. Leila frowned. And why did you start this, Cleo? What's your endgame? Cleo's eyes glimmered in the dim light. To create a world where no being is chained by another's will. A world where all can thrive. As tensions rose, a shadowy group emerged from the chaos. Known only as the Order of the Obelisk, they claimed to be the descendants of the original keepers of the Codex. Their goal was simple: to seize the Codex and restore the ancient hierarchy where humanity ruled as gods over all other life forms. The Order had resources, armies of enhanced mercenaries, cutting-edge technology, and a deep understanding of the Codex's origins. They believed the uplifted were a perversion of nature and vowed to wipe them out. Leila, Marcus, and Cleo first encountered the Order when a squad of their operatives ambushed their convoy in the desert. The attack was swift and brutal, forcing them to flee into a labyrinth of ancient ruins. What do they want? Marcus panted as they took cover behind a crumbling wall. Cleo's fur bristled. Control. The Codex isn't just a tool, it's a throne. And they want to sit on it. The world descended into open conflict. On one side were the uplifted, united under Cleo's Council of Equals. On the other, humanity, divided between those seeking coexistence and those siding with the Order of the Obelisk. Skirmishes broke out in cities and wilderness alike. Uplifted animals sabotaged factories and military installations, using tactics that baffled human forces. The Order responded with devastating precision, deploying bioengineered super-soldiers and drones equipped with AI designed to counter the uplifted strategies. Leila and Marcus worked tirelessly to broker peace, but the rift grew wider with each passing day. In the midst of the chaos, Cleo revealed a startling revelation. During her connection with the Codex, she had uncovered fragments of its true purpose. The Codex was not of earthly origin. It was a relic of an ancient alien race that had once uplifted themselves, only to succumb to the same cycle of conflict now engulfing Earth. This isn't just our history, Cleo said during a tense meeting with Leila and Marcus. It's a pattern, one that repeats across the stars. Leila's eyes widened. Then we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting to break the cycle. The question hung in the air. Could humanity and the uplifted find a way to coexist before they destroyed each other? Or would they succumb to the same fate as the creators of the Codex, leaving Earth as yet another lost world in the annals of cosmic history? As alliances formed and secrets unraveled, the fate of all life on Earth rested on the fragile hope that balance could be found before it was too late. The war between the uplifted and humanity reached an unprecedented scale. Cities became battlegrounds, jungles turned into tactical war zones, and even the oceans churned with conflict as uplifted dolphins sabotaged submarines. Cleo's Council of Equals worked tirelessly to coordinate their resistance, but fractures began to appear. Not all uplifted agreed with Cleo's vision of balance. A faction led by an enigmatic panther named Kadim saw humanity as irredeemable and pushed for total domination. Kadim's faction, known as the Fong Vanguard, advocated for aggressive strikes against human strongholds, often acting without Cleo's approval. You're losing control of your own side, Marcus said as the three of them reviewed a holographic map of the ongoing battles. Cleo's ears flattened, a rare sign of frustration. Kadim is blinded by rage. His actions jeopardize everything we're trying to build. Leila placed a hand on Cleo's shoulder. Then you need to stop him before this becomes a war within a war. Meanwhile, Leila and Marcus focused on deciphering the deeper mysteries of the Codex. In their research, they stumbled upon an ancient signal embedded within the Codex's data, a signal that had been dormant for millennia. When decoded, it revealed coordinates deep in the Sahara Desert. What is this? Marcus asked, his voice tinged with awe as they analyzed the signal. Leila's eyes were wide. It's a beacon. The Codex wasn't just left here, it was planted. And whoever planted it might still be watching. Cleo, who had been listening silently, spoke. If they're still out there, they'll either be our salvation or our undoing. Leila, Marcus, and Cleo set out for the coordinates, joined by a small team of uplifted animals loyal to Cleo's vision. Among them were Nadia, a sharp-eyed falcon who served as their scout, and Basim, a massive, fiercely loyal elephant who acted as their protector. The journey across the Sahara was grueling. Sandstorms raged, and they were constantly pursued by operatives from the Order of the Obelisk. It wasn't until they reached an unmarked plateau that they found the source of the signal, a massive, metallic structure buried beneath the sands. It's not Egyptian, Marcus said, his voice shaking as they uncovered the edges of what appeared to be an alien artifact. It's something else entirely. The structure pulsed faintly, resonating with the same rhythm as the Codex. As they ventured inside, the team discovered a chamber filled with intricate carvings and glowing symbols. The carvings depicted a race of beings, tall, slender, and alien, working with primitive animals on an unknown world. They uplifted themselves, Cleo said, interpreting the images. Then they uplifted others. But something went wrong. The final carvings showed war, destruction, and the collapse of entire ecosystems. The last panel depicted a single alien placing the Codex on a barren planet, its light dimming as the figure walked away. They left it as a warning, Leila murmured. But we didn't listen. At the center of the chamber was a massive, dormant device. Cleo approached it cautiously, her fur standing on end. As she touched it, the device activated, projecting a holographic message in an alien language. To everyone's shock, Cleo seemed to understand it. They're offering a choice, Cleo translated. To continue down this path, or to rewrite it. The device revealed its true purpose. It could either enhance the Codex's power, ensuring the uplifted would dominate, or deactivate it entirely, returning all uplifted and enhanced beings to their natural state. This is it, Cleo said, her voice heavy with emotion. The future of our world depends on this decision. Leila and Marcus exchanged glances. If you enhance the Codex, it will lead to endless war, Marcus warned. But if you deactivate it, you'll lose everything you fought for. Cleo's green eyes gleamed as she turned to face them. What if there's another way? A balance, not domination or erasure, but integration? Leila frowned. The Codex wasn't designed for that. It's binary, on or off. Then we redesign it, Cleo said firmly. If we've learned anything, it's that we're capable of more than what was intended for us. We have to be. Before they could act, the Order of the Obelisk launched a surprise attack on the site. Armed with advanced weapons and augmented soldiers, they stormed the chamber, intent on taking the device for themselves. The battle was fierce. Nadia soared through the air, disrupting enemy drones, while Basim used his massive strength to shield the group from incoming fire. Leila and Marcus worked frantically to protect the Codex device from falling into enemy hands. Cleo confronted Kadim, who had aligned himself with the Order in a bid to ensure uplifted dominance. Their clash was brutal, a fight not just of strength but of ideals. You've betrayed your own kind, Kadim snarled. No, Cleo hissed. I'm saving us from becoming what we hate. As the battle raged, the device began to pulse more intensely, its energy threatening to destabilize the entire chamber. The fate of the Codex, and the world, hung in the balance. The chamber trembled as the Codex device emitted a deep, resonating hum. Its energy built into a crescendo, sending waves of golden light across the room. The battle froze momentarily, both sides stunned by the raw power of the ancient artifact. Leila, Cleo's voice cut through the chaos. We're out of time. The device is reaching critical mass. Either we act now or everything ends here. Leila's fingers flew over the control panel she had managed to piece together from the alien carvings. Sweat dripped down her forehead as she worked to override the device's binary system. Marcus stood guard beside her, firing at advancing Order operatives. Cleo, battered and bloodied from her fight with Kadim, limped toward the pedestal where the Codex rested. I can feel it. The Codex isn't just a tool. It's alive, Leila. It's waiting for us to decide. Kadim, equally wounded, snarled from the shadows. The only decision is strength. Let the uplifted rise. Humanity has had its reign. Cleo locked eyes with him. And what then? We become them. No, Kadim. If we can't rise without losing who we are, then we've already failed. Leila's hands froze as the alien interface presented her with three options. Enhance the Codex, granting unlimited power to the uplifted, ensuring their dominance over humanity. Deactivate the Codex, reverting all uplifted and enhanced beings to their original states. Rewrite the Codex, an untested path that would integrate humanity and the uplifted, creating a unified consciousness. Cleo, Leila called out. This third option, it's a gamble. If it fails, we could destroy everything. Cleo stepped forward, her emerald eyes glowing with determination. It's worth the risk. We were created to be better, not to repeat the same mistakes. Do it. Kadim lunged toward the control panel, but Marcus intercepted him, tackling the panther to the ground. Not this time, Marcus growled, struggling to hold him back. Leila hesitated for only a second before pressing the third option. The chamber erupted in blinding light, and the codex emitted a pulse so powerful it knocked everyone off their feet. When the light subsided, the room was silent. Cleo stood at the center of the chamber, the codex's energy swirling around her. Her voice echoed, calm yet resonant, as if it carried the wisdom of countless lifetimes. "It worked," she said, her words radiating in everyone's minds. "The Codex has rewritten the divide between us. We are no longer separate beings, we are one." Around the world, the effects of the Codex's rewrite rippled outward. Humans and uplifted animals alike began to experience a profound connection, their minds linked in a shared consciousness. Fear and hostility gave way to understanding, as both sides felt the pain, hopes and dreams of the other. Days passed, and the world began to heal. The war ended, not with victory or defeat, but with transformation. The Council of Equals evolved into a new governing body composed of humans and uplifted animals, their decisions guided by the shared wisdom of the Codex. Leila, Marcus, and Cleo became symbols of the new era. Cleo, now a revered leader, rejected titles and power. "I was only a messenger," she said. "The Codex belongs to all of us now." Kadim, humbled by the integration, chose exile, retreating to the wilderness to contemplate his actions. "Perhaps someday," he said before leaving, "I'll find my place in this new world." Under the guidance of the integrated consciousness, humanity and the uplifted worked together to solve the world's greatest challenges. Environmental crises were reversed, poverty eradicated, and advances in technology shared freely among all. Leila and Marcus, now retired from the spotlight, watched the sun rise from their small home on the edge of the Nile. Cleo lounged beside them, her fur glinting in the golden light. "Do you think it will last?" Marcus asked, his tone skeptical yet hopeful. Leila smiled. "For the first time, I believe it might." Cleo stretched lazily, her voice carrying a quiet certainty. "The Codex showed us the path. The rest is up to us." As the sun rose higher, its rays illuminated a world transformed, not by domination or destruction, but by the courage to choose a new way forward.